Okay, let me ask you something. Have you ever crammed for a huge final exam? You pass it, and then, like a week later, you've forgotten everything? Or maybe you've had that feeling where a single high stakes test just didn't capture all the stuff you actually learned. Well, if you're nodding along, you are definitely not alone. And the world of higher education is finally starting to pay attention.
So let's just start with a number that might hit a little close to home: 40%. That's a conservative estimate for how much exam anxiety can mess with a student's performance. And think about what that really means. This isn't just about getting a few butterflies in your stomach. We're talking about a system where the pressure is so intense, it actually stops students from showing what they know.
And right here is where the plot really thickens. While students are stressing out over exams, a huge 78% of employers are out there saying, you know what? We care way more about what you can do than what grade you got. So we're basically preparing students for a test that the real world isn't even giving them. Kind of wild, right? So you see the tension here. We've got this testing system that causes a ton of anxiety for students, but at the same time, it's not even measuring what employers are actually looking for. And that mismatch, well, that's the core problem that's forcing everyone to rethink the whole thing. Now, I want to be clear, this isn't just some passing fad. This big shift away from traditional tests, it's a necessary evolution. And it's being driven by some really powerful forces in a world that, let's be honest, demands a whole lot more than just memorizing facts. So you might be wondering, what exactly is pushing this change? Well, it's kind of like a perfect storm. For starters, there's a global push for new education standards. But more importantly, there's this growing realization that just knowing things isn't enough anymore. We have to foster real critical thinking. That means we have to look at the whole student, not just a test score, and use authentic tasks. You know, the kind of stuff you'd actually do in a real job. And honestly, in the age of AI, this is more important than ever for academic integrity. I mean, you can't just ask a chatbot to go solve a complex, real-world problem for you. And what all this means is that the fundamental rules of the game are being rewritten. The new goal isn't just about what you can remember, it's about what you can do with that knowledge. It's a massive shift from just memory to actual meaning. This slide just lays it out so perfectly. On the left, you've got the old way, right? A straight, predictable line of memorizing facts. But then look to the right. The new path is this dynamic, flexible journey. It's all about applying what you know to solve the messy, complex, and totally unpredictable problems you find in the real world. And this visual, man, it just says it all. Real learning is complicated. It's winding. It's unpredictable. So why on earth would we try to measure it with a simple, straight line? The whole new philosophy is that our assessments have to be just as flexible and multifaceted as the learning process itself. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but what does it actually look like in a classroom? Let's dive into the new toolkit that educators are starting to use to measure what really, truly matters. First up, we've got something called media and presentation assessment. So instead of a 10-page essay, just imagine your professor asks you to create a short documentary, or a podcast episode, or a really sharp infographic. This doesn't just test if you know the material, it tests if you can synthesize it, communicate it, and create something new with it. I mean, think about it. To make a great podcast about a subject, you can't just list off facts you memorized. No way. You have to pull all these ideas together, build a compelling story, and communicate in a way that keeps people listening. That shows a level of mastery that a multiple-choice test could never, ever touch. And then things get really real with simulation and performance assessment. This is where you put students into realistic scenarios, like a mock trial for a law student or a crisis management drill for a business major, and you see how they apply what they've learned when the pressure is on. And then, of course, there's the biggest game changer of them all, technology. Digital tools aren't just a cool little add-on anymore. They are completely revolutionizing assessment, making it more dynamic, more personalized, and let's be honest, a lot more fun.
And this can take a few really exciting forms. You've got game-based learning, which turns a test into a challenge you actually want to beat. You have AI-supported tools that can give you instant, personalized feedback, almost like having a personal tutor who's there for you 24/7. And maybe most impressive of all, you have adaptive assessments that can actually adjust the difficulty to you in real time, giving a way more accurate picture of what you're capable of. So, when you put all of these pieces together, what does it all mean for the future of learning? Well, this shift has some seriously profound implications for pretty much everyone involved in education. At the end of the day, this is where we're headed.
We are moving away from a system that just rewards memorizing facts and moving toward one that actually builds and confirms real-world competence. It's about preparing students not just for their next test, but for the rest of their lives. So, this whole shift leaves all of us with a pretty big question to think about. I want you to just forget about grades and transcripts for a second. If the real test wasn't about what you could remember, but about what you could create, what you could solve, and what you could build, if your actual skills were the only measure, how would you score?